think Brett and I are going to use the microphone too much. We're going to explore the space in here. My name's Jonas Reynolds. I'm the Region 8 Administrator for Team Rubicon out here in the Rockies. So our Region 8 matches up with Team Region 8. I run all the operations in Colorado, Utah, North and South Wyoming, and Montana. This is Brett Cross.
Yeah, I'm Brett Cross. I haven't met a volunteer project that I don't like. So I am the state administrator for Team Rubicon. I work for Jonas as our paid staff member as a volunteer here, helping with our 400 members that we have here in Utah to make Utah awesome for our Team Rubicon and for our nurse management.
Yeah, and I am the only paid staff member for Team Rubicon out here, so it's always my fault. A little bit about our agenda today. So the purpose of what we want to do today for you guys is really teach you about the mission of TR and what we do. We want to also show you our capabilities and give you enough information so you understand how to use us in incident capacity and really make us a tool and resource for yourself. And to do that, we're going to share a lot about our story. Hopefully, we're going to reach some understanding on the impact that TR does. And then that should take about 30 minutes. The last half of this, we'll open it up for questions, discussions, so we'll have lots of time to talk about it. So what we're going to do is we're going to start this off with a video. And I really like to start these presentations off with one of the TR videos. I think by the end of it, you guys are going to see why. So we're going to dim the lights in the next 3 minutes of your life. Hope it'll be really good.
I want to tell you a story. The story of a group of people. A group of people with an impulse. An impulse that was a call to serve. And that service filled a need and bridged a gap. Swift-footed, mobile, adaptable, they treated countless victims. They saved lives. They banded together and served in remote locations some dared not go. But then they found that there was also a need at home, and that need was also tangible and immediate. One tornado, one hurricane after another, and more destruction than they had the resources or manpower to respond to. So, they recruited, and that call was answered. Thousands of volunteers answered. On standby for each disaster, hoping to be deployed, given a t-shirt, maybe a cot to sleep on, a hot meal, and at the end of the day, given a mission, a purpose. And they found that they were healing more than the wounds of a storm. They were also healing the wounds of a war that forged a brotherhood and sisterhood, a war that instilled in them certain skills, a war that would forever change their perspective, a war that they would leave, but that would never leave them. Some were lost. Some were lost here at home. Every day, lives are lost here. But the call continues to go out. For they did not stop serving when they took off the uniform. They merely traded in that uniform for one with a symbol with a river running through it, a symbol of a gap, of a challenge that they must adapt to, be pliable to, and stay a step ahead of. And a call that must be answered, to serve again, to put others before oneself, to manage volunteers, to set an example, to do simple good, to bring order to chaos, to give relief, to give comfort, to give hope to others and to themselves. We've crossed the Rubicon. Now, we burn the boat.
seeing that gets me fired up. I joined Team Rubicon 5 years ago because I saw a video like this on CNN about an organization. And when the TR members, when we talk about our experiences, we talk about our TR story. Well, my TR story started off 2 years after I got out of the military. I had gotten out of Fort Bragg, moved to Colorado Springs. I had my act together. I had a job doing intel analysis at TSA. I was going back to school, getting my master's in electrical engineering. I was using all the resources which were afforded to me, and I was being successful. Like, I wasn't in need of professional service. I didn't have PTSD. I didn't need any mental health. Like, I had my act together. And, you know, I saw this, and I realized when I saw this piece about TR that something inside was lacking. That sense of purpose that I had when I was in the military, when I was working in my small teams, like, I didn't have that. My friends were scattered to the four corners of the country, and I missed that. And I was looking for a way to get back to the community. And, you know, a lot of the traditional volunteer organizations, I was 26 at the time, they didn't resonate with me. Like, I didn't want to go out and volunteer with some of that stuff. And this struck a chord with me. So the first thing that I did with TR, and thank Utah for this, is back in 2012 when I joined, like, you join up with TR, you couldn't hear anything for 6 months. A disaster would pop up, maybe you go out to it. But for me, the first thing that I heard about TR was wilderness first aid training road. So I jumped in my car, I took an 8-hour trip from Colorado Springs, landed out here with you guys. I made a new social network, I made new friends, and I found new purpose through it. And over the next 5 years, I started doing operations. I started volunteering. I got into volunteer leadership. You guys can't hear it? Thought I was on a roll. Should I restart? Sorry, guys. All right, so I hope that's better. So 5 years ago, you know, the last 5 years, I got into volunteer leadership. I took on, you know, more and more operations. My activity got deeper into the organization, and last year, the organization offered me a full-time position, which was too good to pass up. For me, my journey's been, you know, it's moved my life, and it's made a huge impact on me. And what I've seen throughout my 5 years being a volunteer and a staff member in this organization, a lot of our members are just like me. Like, they're not people which are in need. They're not charity cases. They're people which have awesome skills, awesome experiences that they learned in combat tours or being first responders, and they want to give back. So that's kind of our demographic and what we're going to show you. There we go. All right, so my trajectory in TR, it kind of matches our timeline up here. And what I'm going to walk you guys through is a little history of TR from 2010 to 2017. So from what you guys saw in the video, when we started off in 2010, everybody, the 8 guys who started this organization, they thought that this was going to be a hobby. They thought that they would get together with each other once, twice a year. They would deploy somewhere cool internationally. They'd do a medical mission, and then they'd go back to their families and their lives. Nobody ever imagined that TR would ever have a full-time employee. Certainly no one ever imagined that we'd have 45,000 volunteers across the country. So what started off as a hobby, you know, it clicked with us, and we realized that veterans have awesome experiences that we can apply to disasters. Well, 2011 hits, and we do our first domestic mission, and all of a sudden we realize, you know what? This isn't just an international thing. There's work to be done at home. And, you know, that idea kind of fermented for a little while, and in 2012, when Hurricane Sandy hit the Rockaways in New York, it was game on for us. We sent 350 members out to Long Island. These 350 members managed 10,000 spontaneous volunteers. And, like, let that sit in. These guys, these 350 people, they teamed up in groups of 10, 20 spontaneous volunteers, took them out to a house, took them out to a work order, and knocked it out. And the way that they did it was through using the small unit tactics that they had learned over the combat tours. And all of a sudden we realized, you know what? We're good at this, and we can keep doing this. So when 2013 rolls around, and it's a little hard to see, but who remembers the tornadoes in Moore, Oklahoma here? Yeah, I see some head nods. So when Moore, Oklahoma happened, we sent out 450 members to Moore, which is our biggest response to date that we've ever had. And the important thing about Moore is not the 450 people that we sent out, but it's the retired battalion chief that acted as our task force leader, or IC, out there. He implemented ICS for the first time out there on the ground. And that was a huge culture shift for us. What we realized is that the ICS structure works within TR. And we adopted that. So now, when you look ahead to 2017, when you guys have a disaster in Utah somewhere, you're going to get Team Rubicon volunteers that have gone through a background check. They've gotten some basic training in safety, how we do tactics, and our culture. And they've also got ICS 100, 700, in some cases 200, 800. For our command and general staff that operates with us, they've all got ICS 300. So this is something that we've committed ourselves to and adopted. Yes, ma'am.
So my city's currently being served. This sounds sort-ish, kind of. I'm just wondering, what is the link between Team Rubicon and, say, the Salt Lake City emergency disaster? How would that work? And I mean, I understand that you guys are qualified, you guys have done this before, people and some police volunteers, some of our team members can, some want to be. What exactly, how would that work? How does that work between you guys and the city?
It's a good question.
Yeah, that's a great question. And we're actually we're gonna answer that question. I'll answer it now, but then we'll get into it later. Just like any other NGO, like the American Red Cross and Baptist Convention, we are a member of the National VOAD, voting member there. All the other NGO nonprofits that do disaster response, we are like them in that way.
Is that, I mean, I'm just wondering, my emergency man is not here today, I got sick, so what do I need to do to get a hold of that?
Yeah, we're gonna get there. Yeah, we'll talk about that.
I guarantee you, you're going to walk away with that question answered. So when we look at 2013 and ICS, like that's awesome, and that started to lend a lot of professionalism to Team Rubicon and what we do. When you look at the next couple of years, we've really dedicated ourselves to training in this organization. I think about a quarter of our full-time employees at the national office do nothing but training. So what that looks like in real terms. So in 2013, when I did my first operation, I learned how to use a chainsaw behind somebody's house for about 2 hours, and I learned just about enough to go hurt myself or somebody else. Now, when a Team Rubicon member goes through and becomes a Sawyer with us, they go through a 2-day course, which is built upon the fundamentals of S212, arborist training, all kinds of different disciplines that really stresses safety and technique. And they get a task book, they get a mentor assigned to them, and they get ingrained with safety all along the way. When you get a heavy equipment operator out from TR now, that heavy equipment operator has gone through a fish and wildlife training where they've received a national certification to operate on any wildland preserve across the country. And same thing with our firefighters. If you want to go be a wildland firefighter in Team Rubicon, we have a partnership with BLM where we send hundreds of members through every year. They get their red card certification, they get HECM certifications, S212, and we take those people, hand them over to BLM, they get to go out, get a paycheck, which if you guys think about this, that is an awesome tool for reintegrating a veteran who doesn't know what to do next. They can get out of the military, become a firefighter, get a paycheck, and start a life. So that's kind of the trajectory going up into 2017. And what Brett's going to talk about in a little bit here is how we structure ourselves in Utah and in the cities of Utah, how we're decentralizing and everything that we're doing. It's going to ramp up more training. Next slide. So in real terms, so by the numbers here, the chart on the left is our number of operations over the last 7 years. So when it's really hard to see, isn't it? Sorry, we'll walk you through it. So when we start off in 2010, we did 1 operation. This last year, we did almost 60 domestic operations. across the country. And that's grown with our membership. What started off as 8 guys with a really awesome idea, but spontaneously being spontaneous deployers to Haiti, it's grown into 45,000 members who now have a formalized national mobilization process. Next slide. And by the demographics. So the average Team Rubicon member, about 70% of us are made up of veterans, active duty reservists. The other 30% are civilians, and they're what we call kick-ass civilians. These people are people with awesome heavy equipment skills, chainsaw skills. They're first responders, they're emergency managers in some case. And those 30%, they're people that believe in our mission and they want to make the same impact with our organization. Some things up here too. So when you guys think about VOAC organizations, you probably don't think about somebody who's 25, 30 years old, has a college degree, is fully employed. Like, to me, that's not the usual person that I think about in my head. Most of our members are somewhere between 25 and 40 years old. They have a college degree. About 80% of them have an associate's degree, a bachelor's, a master's, something like that. And in the bottom left here, I don't know if we have any veterans in the room, but Army leads the way. We have about 30% Army. I know we got one Navy guy in here. I think Coast Guard is that little sliver over on the left, that 5% with probably Merchant Marines. Next slide. All right, so how do we do all this? About half of our funding comes from other nonprofits and foundations. That's things like Wounded Warrior Project gives us an endowment every year. And 21% of that comes from major corporations. So we have some great national partners. The Home Depot Foundation, Walmart is a great one too. Southwest Airlines flies us all over the country to get out to operations, as well as United. And you know, the big deal to us is that 30% up there. 30% of our funding comes from mom and pop. That's somebody's mother donating, you know, $20, $100 when they see that there's been a disaster and we're going out there on the ground. And one of the cool things that we really hold to in Team Rubicon is our 7th cultural principle and our final one, and that's your mother's a donor. So every dollar that we spend, we try to do it wisely, and we try to be the best custodian of the donor dollar that we can. Next slide. And that's what it looks like. So this number 7, what we do in Team Rubicon, for every dollar that we spend on an operation, we impact the local community $7 more. And the way that we figure that out is we take our total hours that we dedicate to an operation and we multiply it by a FEMA reimbursement rate and then divide in all of our costs. So for every $1 we spend, we impact the community $7. Our target is 1/8 right now, which is pretty darn good. I think FEMA's is like 1 to 1. Next. All right, and this is Brett.
Jonas. Okay, so one of the things we want to talk about is that, like Jonas said, we did adopt ICS hook, line, and sinker, and we adopted that across the board, including the National Response Framework and the disaster cycle. So a lot of what we do encompasses the entire disaster cycle. The sexy stuff is response, and that's what we're talking to you about today, and a lot of that stuff. But we also have a preparedness mission of training and getting our responders ready to go. In addition to helping with mitigation and recovery projects. We're talking a little more about that, but we want to help you as emergency managers with your mitigation projects, with reducing some of the cost you have when it comes to that type of thing. We were up in Weber County and helped in Ogden with one of the parks doing some, with the chainsaw classes, doing a mitigation project there to thin out some of their trees so that to help create a fire break, right? So, and that was a project that we did that's mitigation focused. So we do try and are doing the entire disaster cycle. So we have a new approach starting this year of how we are going to build Team Rubicon out, and we're building that out with what we call basic readiness units. I didn't get that right for like the first 3 months of it. So I got it right, basic readiness units. which is about, for us, what that looks like numbers-wise is we're looking for 100 people, 25 of those who are deployable, meaning they've gone through all the training that they're required to do, have a background check, take their ICS training, and then they're deployable. And then we have a few of those who are going to be trained in some special skills, such as operating a chainsaw or heavy equipment or something like that. And then a couple of them who are command and general staff trained. They take an ICS 3 and 400 so they can help with that command and general staff purposes. So across the country, you can see all those dots are cities that have a population of over 100,000 people, and we would like to build the units in each of those cities. So what that looks like here for us in Utah, we know the Wasatch Front, and so we picked Salt Lake, Ogden, and Provo as those cities that, and then St. George, can't forget about St. George down there, but as the cities that we're going to start building those basic readiness units in. And to us, that's recruiting new volunteers. It's reaching out to all of the, a lot of the post 9/11 veterans who've gone to OIF, OEF is our target, but anybody's welcome. One of our most active members in the region is a 70-something-year-old Marine who was in Vietnam and lets us know that every day that he was there. And then one of our leaders here in Utah, Steve Nielsen, who's out at the table, he was in the Army before I was born, like some of you. Right? Yeah, he's retired twice from various jobs. So, and our job then is to recruit those volunteers, to train them up, to get them ready so that they can respond. And then through projects like that mitigation project in Ogden, we did one response, which we're going to talk about a little more too, in Tooele, helping with their fire that burned the trailers. And so our goal then, of course, is, and you look at this map and you think, well, you're just focusing on cities, so I'm in a small town, that doesn't apply to me. That's not true. Our goal is that as we build our cities, that we're going to be able to help grow the population as a whole. But we had to figure out somewhere to start, right? And so we started with cities. And as those grow and as we get these units, we'll continue to grow. We do have a great mission. We have a great story. And as a result of that, and the work that we're doing with our volunteers, they keep coming back and they want more. And, we got more to say about that too. But as a result of that, we're growing rapidly. We have over 400 members here in Utah. We had 28 show up in Tooele. They came from all over Idaho, Colorado. But we had 28 come out to Tooele on short notice to help out. We trained about 9 new chainsaw operators. I was one of them. Believe it or not, I can actually run a chainsaw. They won't let me, but I can. Run a chainsaw from the Ogden project. We've got a lot of exciting things going here in Utah. We have a lot of good momentum. We have some great leaders. We have some people that the national organization, like I said, has invested in training. So we're able to send local people to teach that chainsaw trainer course. We have a heavy equipment operator course coming up for the Fish and Wildlife is going to do. We're going to send some people out to that. Team Rubicon covers the cost of those people to go take that training so they can come back and do it for us here locally. So we're really excited about this approach and being able to grow Utah in a strategic fashion. And so I talked about training. This is one of our preparedness efforts. Last year, you can see we produced some really cool infographics and things. So you got a lot of those you see. But last year we trained almost 9,000 what we call gray shirts. That's our uniform. That's what we call our general volunteer pool. Those are all gray shirts. It's like the least, it's the most politically correct term. We don't say guys, we don't say gals, we don't say people. It's just a gray shirt, right? Like we all wear the same shirt. So, almost 40,000 hours donated by volunteers to take that training that we had. So these are some pretty impressive numbers. The assist, I never remember the acronym for that, but it's suicide intervention techniques. And so as you know, that's one of the things that the veteran community faces is suicide. So we train our volunteers in how to have some better interactions with fellow veterans who might be Team Rubicon members or other people so they can help in somebody's time of need. And I think that's one of the really cool things that we do. Because as a result of doing disaster response, which is what gets us going, we're able to fill lots of voids, like Jonas said. And some people For us, it's just that we want that sense of being able to give back and go at it, and other people that really need Team Rubicon to help them navigate their journey after the military. And so we want to be that safety net for everybody, and as a result of that, our training shows that as well. So we basically broken up in two ways here. We are a member of the National VOAD voting member. We participate in all the state VOADs. We, just like all the other NGOs, we're all coming at this with the same ideas that we want to help communities recover after disaster. Obviously, we can do it better, stronger, faster than everybody else, right? Speak money. We can. But that's our goal, right, is to be the best disaster response organization in the country. And I think that that's something that a lot of NGOs strive for, and we're just one of them as well, and we want to get out there and do what we can to help your communities recover. We do have a small, we do have an international component as well that does some medical missions. It's been pretty cool. They have an ongoing mission right now in Greece, that they're helping with a refugee camp, providing medical care there, which is pretty great. So
I think this part will answer your question. So, and the one on the right here, so being a member of the National VOAD, the way that we're activated is the emergency manager, Val, would send out a request to the VOAD, and then the VOAD would contact us to come out. So as an emergency manager, there are occasions where if it's a small community or something like that, an emergency manager might have a personal connection with us and reach out directly. For instance, right now, we just had windstorms in Colorado, which hit us at like 100 miles an hour. Manitou Springs, which is an unincorporated town outside of Colorado Springs, they don't get any public assistance, so the mayor and the public works manager there reached out to us to come out and help out. So starting on Saturday, we'll be on the ground helping them. And on the left here, for how we break down, this is also important. So we do follow ICS structure. So whoever that IC is out there on the ground, what they can do with Team Rubicon is you guys can turn us into a task force for you. You can assign us to a geographic area or maybe a specific task that you need done. Like limbing or something with our sawyers. So that's a way that we can integrate into the ICS structure a little bit differently than maybe what CERT might do. So this is more me. All right, so capabilities. This is a menu of the capabilities that we bring to you guys. We've talked a lot about incident management. We actually have a history in TR where we've run responses for a locality. I think it's 2015 in Pateros, Washington. Fire burned down the whole town. They didn't have any EM support up there. They were another unincorporated town. So they gave us a delegation of authority to run the whole response for them. And albeit it was a small response, I think we had around 120 members out there. It's something that we help manage for them. Damage assessments and impact. We can do everything from an area assessment to single homes, where we'll go in, we'll do a damage assessment according to the FEMA standard. And the cool thing that we can do with these damage assessments is everything's hooked up and it's connected with TR. So when we do a damage assessment, once we submit it up, it goes up here into the cloud, and somebody behind a computer, I don't really understand how all the technology works behind it, but somebody behind a computer grabs that damage assessment, they can turn it into a work order, and when we get down here into disaster mapping, they can take those work orders, they can populate a GIS platform, which the platform that we use is called Palantir. If you guys aren't familiar with GIS, it's basically like a Google Earth map, which we could pop up little markers for all the work orders on there. We could also add in layers for things, so if there's like a big flood, like the 500-year floodplain map, we can layer in more and more information on this. And the best thing about it is it's a universal platform, so we can export these files out to you guys as emergency managers any way you want. And let's say you guys are using a platform like Crisis Cleanup, we can also export our information to Crisis Cleanup so that other VOAD groups can go out there and tackle these work orders. And this is a way that we integrate what we're doing with everybody else. And then
you're good there. Debris management. This is our bread and butter. And I think about 10% of our people are actually trained surveyors or heavy equipment operators. Most of them are just people like I was when I first joined up in TR, where I didn't care about getting a bunch of training. I just wanted to go out there. I wanted to get dirty, make an impact, like just head to toe dirt. I've got pictures of me where you can't even see my face. But that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to work like blood, sweat, and tears out there, and at the end of the day, be exhausted. And that's what we do. We're really good at moving a lot of big stuff to different places. Next. Hazard mitigation. So Brett hit on this. Right now, which I'm hoping that we get into this summer out in Utah, is fuels reduction. We have a lot of chainsaw capabilities, and we can go out into a local area. We can create fire breaks. We can also create defensible areas around private residences, which I think is really valuable. And flood mitigation. So we do a lot of sandbagging, and we can also do erosion control, stuff like that in the backcountry. Basically, what our members are looking for with these things is they're looking for challenges which other volunteer groups can't do. Like, we want to do the dirty, nasty, hard stuff. That's what we strive to do in Team Rubicon. And spontaneous volunteer management. So in 2012, spontaneous volunteer management for TR, it looked like there's 1,000 volunteers. You guys look like you're squared away and you know what you're doing. Go team up, grab 10 or 20 of them and take them out and knock out this work order. It looks a little different now. So what we can do now is we can do everything from running a volunteer reception center with you guys, where we could implement Salamander, which is our adopted personnel tracking platform in the field. We can also implement Rapid Tag, where as spontaneous volunteers come in, we can build them a profile, print them a tag with a little code on there so we can track them coming in and out of an operation and handle this sort of stuff. And we're really, really good at taking, a bunch of go-getters who probably showed up in flip-flops and jean shorts and outfitting them with the right PPE and sending them out there and knocking some work out safely. And the last one, medical mission. So our medical mission only exists in the international realm. We've had wild success in Ecuador, in the Philippines, Nepal. In 2015, we did a big medical mission out to Nepal, where our medical teams, they actually hiked like 20 miles into mountains. They surveyed mountain passes with drones. They set up field hospitals out there and did some incredible work. Right now, we don't have any domestic medical mission, but what we do have is a ton of medical trained personnel. These are EMTs, paramedics, doctors within our ranks in TR. So for you guys, you can probably figure out some creative ways to tie into that and leverage that. Next. All right, so hopefully, I tell you what, before we get into this, because Brett's gonna go through a ConOps video, and it's got some very rinky-dinky music to it, so Brett's gonna talk you guys through it and kind of explain what we do and how we mobilize and tackle a disaster. But before we get into that, do you guys have any questions about the capabilities or what we do? Did I answer the CERT question? All right.
So also, Jonah's talking about getting dirty. That's not an untrue thing. He's the only person that walked out of an ICS 300 class dirty. I don't know how he did it, but he did. Okay, so we're gonna play this video, and it's a pretty good graphic of how we. So Mother Nature happens. The first thing we do, we have lots of people that are automatically collecting information, and we call it a recon team that we send out to survey not necessarily do all the damage assessment, survey it, but what our recon team is doing is they're looking to see if there's something that Team Rubicon can do to assist. And so we set up initial situation reports, we start gathering data, we can request from our partner Palantir to get imagery, so we can get some maps, and we can get a pretty good situational awareness of what's going on the ground before we mobilize and send people in. Decision's been made that we're going to send people in, so we create a FOB, which is a military term, forward operating base. We have a fantastic relationship with Home Depot. Their parking lots generally become our FOBs. And we've done this so much that we can bring in that's our mobile command trailer up there, set up some tents, and we can build a FOB and start bringing resources into that location to stage, to get ready to deploy out. So we have local caches we have local cache here in Utah, across the country, and we also have the partnership with Home Depot that we can start getting things as we need. The incident management team then arrives. We will deploy out a Team Rubicon incident commander, operations, logistics, depending on the size and scope of the operation. They begin working as soon as they can to get that 201 done, that initial action plan, so that we can get people inbound. So whether they're coming from our backyard or coming from across the country, our Team Rubicon members do arrive. Everyone in process is at the FOB. They check in, we make sure that they're good to go, sign work orders, start getting them so that way they can go out and get dirty. So you'll see here that we start tracking our volunteer hours. We use the product Salamander, so it checks everybody in and gets our reports out so that we can get those numbers back to you as a local emergency manager so that you can use those as part of your 75-25 FEMA reimbursement. And then our damage assessment teams, they move out. We use this software called Palantir. It's actually the military uses it primarily, but we conduct damage assessments on smartphones and tablets. We work with homeowners to get their signatures to get permission to come on their property and to get that work done. While that's happening, our teams are mobilizing and moving in to conduct the cleanup, whether we call it TR clean. So we want to make sure that if we're completely demoing a house or we're just doing a muck out, that the homeowner can be proud of the work that we do. So when we leave, their job is just to rebuild, that hopefully all of their debris management stuff has been taken care of. If they have flooding, we've pulled out their drywall, we've pulled out their tile, their carpet, whatever that might be. We got it to the right spot. And then, so we send them out in strike teams. Every strike team has a leader. You kind of saw the map up there a little bit ago. We do break up into divisions. There will be a division supervisor that oversees some strike team members that works with the incident command post. Our command and control is really good, and I think that lends well to our military experience, that we're used to having that incident command structure in the military, and so it's easy for us, and we go out and carry out orders pretty effectively that way. So as all that work turns, you can see all those little dots are turning green, that we did it. We did chainsaw operations, heavy equipment, whatever needed to get done, that debris removal of those strike team individuals. Then all of our stuff is brought back for demobilization. We begin that process, sending it back to wherever it came from. If we rented heavy equipment, if we built some cash stuff out, we would find a location for that. Send back our resources back to the National Operations Center, and the operation's done. We did all that we could to help that community. As this comes up, looks like for this operation, 157 work orders completed, that we logged 15,552 hours, and we saved the community $428,000 in work that they would have had to have paid another company to come in and do with that work to get done there. So that essentially is our mobilization process, what it looks like. The few things, like we said about being a military organization, we're good at moving stuff. We can move stuff and people pretty quickly when requested, and I think that lends well to us being more agile and more disaster ready, and we can take on local volunteers. A lot of these missions that we do, those hours that we logged are probably they're not all hours of fully vetted Team Rubicon folks. Those are spontaneous volunteers that are also falling in on with our teams, so that we can have the most impact for the local community. Because obviously we want to protect, like we said, your mother's a donor. We want to protect that. And so if we can keep the the cost down of bringing people in, we certainly will to look to utilize local volunteers in that capacity as well.
And we didn't self-deploy. So to get out there, we had some kind of formal request from an emergency manager or from the BOAT to get out there on the ground.
Yeah, that's true. So for Operation Bull Rush, we worked with Bucky pretty closely. This is what we name all of our operations something catchy. Big ones get a patch from military people. That's just what happens, right? You want a patch and a coin, and you want some cool name to go along with it. So that's what we do. We went out to Tooele July 29th through the 31st. It was basically a long weekend. We started on Thursday, ended on Sunday. We had 28 volunteers. A van load came from Colorado. We had a bunch from Utah. We had some people come from Idaho and Nevada. And we all met at the Home Depot parking lot in Tooele. And we conducted 9 cleanups on houses. The Southern Baptists were there as well, and we assisted with them. But these were the 9 that we did were our work orders. We started and finished. Those were trailer homes, so we made sure that we got them all cleared out. Bucky brought in metal recycling bins that brought in so we could get it into the dumpsters. We put the rest of the ash and debris in another dumpster. The work that we did was they really appreciated all the work that we did.
Yeah, so one lady, like the last work order that we did on the last day, she had lost her whole house, and it was a nice house. It was the family home, which the kids had grown up in, and she was in hysterics. And when we came to her house to do a damage assessment and get a work order for it, she wanted nothing to do with us. Like, she wasn't sure who we were or why we were there, but she was like, I don't know about this, and her kids talked to her and kind of talked her into getting some help. We spent all day out there, and we ashed out the crater, which was her home, brought everything out to the curb, and early on, she's like, I don't care what you do, but I lost my wedding ring. Like, it was in there in my bedroom. So 4 TR members sat down there, like, in this ash bowl with, like, respirators on, and sifted all day long. At the end of the day, we finally found this woman's wedding ring, and we couldn't believe it. We brought it up to her, and she almost dropped to her knees. She was in tears. The kids were in tears. Like, they were hugging us. I think they gave us like some food and drinks for dinner that night. But it was an awesome experience. And for us, like, that's why TR members come out and do this, because it's that kind of feeling. Like, and I've got like a million of these stories. The first operation I did, a Korean War veteran. His wife had MS. The dude had to be like in his 80s or something. No one had come to his house in like 5 days. This was in, where was it, Lyons, Colorado, like after that big flood. And like, no kidding, they were crapping in a bucket for 5 days in their living room. And the guy didn't know what to do, didn't have a phone that worked. Anyways, we went out there and we found out about this at like 4 o'clock in the afternoon. We stayed out there until like 8, 9 o'clock at night until it was like well past dark. And we brought every strike team that we had in the area. We all converged on this house. And there's like 40 of us in this house mucking it out. And by the end of it, it was like TR clean. Gutted, all the insulation out, drywall out. We even found them a toilet from Home Depot and brought them over there. And the dude like broke down on us, and he's like, when I got out of the Army, like, I didn't want anything to do with the military, and you guys just renewed my faith. Like, thank you for all you do. And he was getting a little emotional.
Yeah.
Stop.
Great. So all those, and those stories, and I don't know if you know anything about Tooele in July. It's hot, and to sift with a screen for hours is tedious work. And so, but there's also one thing that's true about military people. We love to complain. And we want something to complain about, so sifting for 4, 5, 6 hours in Tooele in the hot desert, getting dirty, to come back at night and to sit around and talk about like whose experience was worse for the day, that's cathartic, right? Like, we appreciate that. And so, so going back to Tooele here, our volunteers' hours ended up being, if this would have been a declared disaster, $27,000, almost $20,000 in savings for Tooele. This is an operation we had in 2016, Operation Go Big in Louisiana. The flooding happened again this year. This is our like I said, largest one for 2016. We deployed almost 200 people, came from 5 countries. Team Rubicon we have a Team Rubicon Global, and there's Team Rubicon in the United Kingdom and Canada and all these other places as well. And so the Israel Aid came and helped us as well. And so from there, you can see the impact that we had of our largest one of almost $500,000 saved for the community of Louisiana. So if it's a little incident that happens in Tooele, you can see the impact that we have there. If it's a large disaster that happens anywhere in the country, we can be there to help respond and help with those kind of efforts.
One really cool metric that we keep tabs on is the number of TR logo tattoos applied to people's bodies in the organization. I think we're up to like 246 right now, which, guys, think about that. People are getting our logo tattooed on their bodies because they believe in our mission, which that may seem a little crazy to some of you, but it seems pretty awesome to these gray shirts out there, and that's why they do this. All right, so impact. Yeah, the tattoo thing goes along with it. Every year we send all 45,000 or how many volunteers we have that year an impact survey, and year after year what we find is the principles that we hold to give our members a sense of purpose, community, and identity. We deliver on it every single year, and that's why people keep coming back. Next. This sums it up pretty good right here. For those of you in the back, they let me swing a sledge at people's cabinetry, and that makes me feel better. That makes me feel pretty good too. Next.
All right, so this picture here is our Region 8 leadership team in Colorado this year. A lot of the people that are in there are Utah leaders, and we are excited, and we know Team Rubicon's young. We know that the work that we're doing is awesome. We know that the ability to reintegrate veterans is pretty awesome. But when you get to meet friends and you get to meet people who you never would have met before in any other realm, it's pretty awesome. And my TR story, there's a group of 4 of us now that get around and we play spades once every couple of weeks. We met from Team Rubicon, but we just hang out, and our spouses come and they do their thing, and we play spades. So it's pretty awesome. So the mission of Team Rubicon is it's a good one. We're excited to be able to help Utah with any emergencies that we may have. We're also really looking forward to doing some mitigation and recovery projects for communities that need those efforts as well. So come find me if you have a recovery mitigation project that you want, or Steve Nielsen, he's out there at our booth manning it. Or Jonas too. He'll let you email me, but you can email him. You can talk to him too if you want.
Hopefully this sparks some ideas on how we can be of use to you. Hopefully we've got across our mission and our capabilities. And what I'm hoping most of all is you guys understand we are putting a lot of work and effort into not being a cowboy organization, to do things right, to integrate into emergency management and be an asset for you. Yes. That's a good one. We actually took out that slide because we thought no one would ask about it.
So that's not true. We took out the slide because we didn't like it. It wasn't pretty enough.
It wasn't pretty.
Theoretically, we say you can have 10 volunteers in 24 hours, and then it scales up from there. So, in 72 hours, we can have a pretty good team on the ground. Now, the work that we're doing primarily is debris management and removal, and it's not search and rescue. We're not coming to clean out. We're not trying to, the water's got to be down, and there's got to be a job for us to do. So if the water's still up, if it's a flood, I know it's floods. If the water's still up, we can start doing some preliminary leaning forward stuff, but we got to have a mission, so the water's got to be down, and so 24 to 72 hours ish. We put together Tooele in less than a week.
So our mobilization process, usually the lagging task to getting out on the ground is getting a clear concept of operations, what we're actually going to be doing. So as emergency managers, if you guys have a clear idea of what you want us to do, and you want this one thing done in this one area for this one day or more, then that's really easy for us. And we can activate our mobilization process. We can start it at 11 o'clock at night if need be. We work 24 hours. But yeah, we could get somebody out there in 24 hours, maybe less.
We helped fill sandbags in Bernal with just a couple hour notice too.
We did 6 hours, I think.
Yeah. So whatever is needed. That's one of the things about our capabilities is that we're pretty flexible. So as things are needed, again, we're limited to some, scope of funding and all that kind of stuff. But as there's needs, that we want to be there to help.
So TR, like behind the scenes, we have a great social media network where people are tied in with each other, and we also have a great mobilization network where we can mobilize people through text messages. We can draw a bubble on a map and activate every member in that area based on text message. Same thing through email, and like our Facebook pages, I think right now you guys have a couple hundred. Colorado's got like almost 1,500 people on that Facebook page, so word gets out pretty quickly.
Any other questions for us?
Yeah, talking mission-specific stuff, and you said if there's a need to look at it. For instance, I'm the emergency manager at Primary Children's Hospital, and we look at sustainability for healthcare. We've got 289 beds, and in the Salt Lake corridor, including Utah and Davis County, there's 570,000 people under the age of 18. We've begun preparing for that by getting expeditionary HD global assets so we can set up the tent hospital outside, et cetera. But right now in training, that's nurses and other folks coming outside to deploy those assets. And we're talking tents, flooring, HVAC, generator. I'm sure you guys have both said this up in the sand before, it's not that you know what I'm talking about. Is that something when we're looking at immediate needs for expanding basically a healthcare footprint that you guys might be interested in looking at?
So the yes and no to some degree. Yes, in that like if there's a need, we would love to help fill it, and we do have strong backs. So putting up tents, that kind of thing is something that's possible. One of the things that right now as an organization, because we're still learning and growing, that we are shying away from are MOUs. Like we don't want to be tied to helping you set up a tent in Primary Children's. But if that was a need that you had, and we could help fill that need, by all means we would do what we can to meet
Yeah,
that
we don't
mission.
have like an MOU with the Medical Reserve Corps because we know that it's just not feasible.
Right.
So we're just looking at the same kind of thing. If if myself and 3 other people, and I can make a phone call and say, hey, I need some folks who've done this before. Can you give me a hand? I know that's probably low impact as far as time-wise, but it's a huge impact on the kids for the community. And that's the thing we're dealing with now is there's never enough arms and legs to do the stuff we need to do if we ever get in that situation. So nobody would expect an MOU, just is it another resource that might be available when you might have a DMAT team already deployed or setting up somewhere else, but yet we need to expand that footprint, whether it's the primaries or IMED release of work. They have the same type of HD global equipment where they could set up additional care. And for long-term operations, there's not really anybody out there to help other than whoever's in the hospital. And this is a really awesome program. And
Yeah.
I think so. From me, that's something I would be interested in doing as a TR member. And if there was an actual incident and the first responders are out there doing their thing, I want to be able to help you guys out whatever we can and enable you to do your job. So in that instance, yeah. So I'm the guy who approves operations in TR for Region 8. I would absolutely approve that and send people out to you.
And I'm the guy that bugs Jonas till he says yes. So. Any other questions that you can answer? Yeah.
Yeah, I want to talk a little bit about mitigation. I work for natural resources companies dealing with and they have a program called ESP, which is population protection. So when there is a natural disaster, that the life and property and these property infrastructure, we can come in and do projects and basically one of the things that we run is sometimes
Yeah. So for mitigation projects specifically, yes. One of the things we talked about is like the phrase "getting dirty" is one of our like catchphrases. So everyone wants to get dirty and everyone wants to do manual labor. Not everyone, because I think I'm excluded from that group, but most people do. And so so yes, that's something we do. We like trail maintenance, that kind of thing. That is getting dirty, but it's not really within our mission. But that definitely is within our mission to make sure that we are, as a disaster organization, that we're doing what we can for mitigation and recovery for sure.
I think if we can sell it to a volunteer, so if that's a project that you need done and it's going to help a community mitigate from a flood or something like that, and we can tell our volunteers this is why we're going out there, it resonates.
Yeah. Any final questions? All right, well, thank you for your time. We'll be here
Thanks a lot.
today. So.